I'm going to talk about Git and GitHub best practices. About me, my name is Henry He. I'm a data science manager in Metadata. Metadata is one of the biggest contributors to the COVID-19 vaccine clinical trial. It's a company providing software to help on clinical trial. We already helped the multiple vaccine clinical trials. We helped on Pfizer, Moderna, and other companies. I have been doing software development for more than 20 years. Also, I have been working on .NET, using .NET for more than 15 years. In the past 10 years, I switched to Git. I like Git. It's much better than other source control system. In recent 5 years, I start to use GitHub in my daily job. So I feel like I have a lot of experience on Git and GitHub. That's why I'm doing this presentation to try to share with everybody about some best practices about Git and GitHub, also some tips. We have a lot of stuff to cover today. This is my agenda. I want to give a very quick overview on Git and GitHub. Then I'm going to talk about the best practices first. I have 8 best practices to share with everybody. After that, I will try to give a demo and use the demo to show everybody those best practices in action. And then I will give everybody a little bit time to ask questions. Git. I believe everybody already familiar with Git. Git is a free and open source distributed version control system designed to handle everything from small to very large projects with the speed and efficiency. It was created by Linus Torvalds in 2005 for the development of the Linux kernel with other kernel developers. Git is easy to learn, has a very tiny footprint with lightning fast performance. It outclasses other source control system or tools with features like a very cheap local branching, very easy to do merging. You can have a lot of different ways to use it. That means different workflows. Right now, Git is the #1 version control system in the world. I'm a .NET developer. I also used TFS a lot in the past. I'm still using TFS. So for TFS, Microsoft actually did a very good job. You can use TFS, or you can just use the UI front end of TFS and use Git as a backend. So you have the choice. Since so many people, so many developers, so many companies are using Git, and we start to ask, first of all, Git itself, it's both a client and server. That means there is no concept like source control, like a TFS, like a subversion. You must have a server somewhere, and rest of the user or rest of the computer are clients. No, Git itself is a client, also server. We can just say, I want to be the server. You can push all the changes to me. Because that, a lot of people get confused very beginning because they don't know, okay, they finish their change on the local machine. Where should they store those changes? Normally, company will set up the install Git in a server, so everybody will push the changes into that particular server. Of course, that requires a lot of work, a lot of maintenance. Instead, especially for open source project, we need a central place still. Therefore, we start to see companies to create those central places, like a GitHub. GitHub provides hosting for Git. It offers the distributed version control system and source management system functionality of Git. Plus, it adds a lot of new features on top of Git. For example, backtracking, feature requests, task management, continuous integration, wiki. GitHub is not the only choice, but is the one I use the most. You can also choose GitLab, Gitbucket. So that's why Git and GitHub become more and more popular because it's small, it's easy to use, it has a very small footprint. In the meantime, it has all the features to meet with small team, medium team, large team. After used Git for more than 10 years, after used GitHub for more than 5 years, I start to realize not everybody is using Git and GitHub in the most efficient way. Also, people run into a lot of issues or questions. So that's why I'm doing this to share with everybody about some best practices we are following. My team is following. So I'm going to present you 8 best practices at this moment. On top of that, in my demo, I'm going to also share some small tips. The number 1 best practice is to lock up your develop branch and master branch. On my team, we are following the workflow called Getflow because it's an internal project. It's not an open source project. So everybody be able to open up the project from GitHub and make a clone a version to his or her local computer. So we don't want people to randomly change some branches, like a develop branch and a master branch. I will talk about the Getflow a little bit later to explain to you why those branches are very, very important. Number 2, define co-owners for faster code reviews. So right now we have 8 developers plus myself on my team. We have 4 testers on my team. So when we are working on some changes, different people working on different areas, different people working on different components. Also, we are following the best practice. We always create a PR in GitHub and ask somebody to help review. However, sometimes we don't know who is the best person to review that changes. So this is our situation. Thinking about an open source project, there are so many developers working on a project. So you don't want people just randomly create a PR and merge a PR into the develop branch. You need somebody to review the code. Who will be the person to review the code? So that's why it's good to define co-owners. So you can just give for those person to become a reviewer. Of course, you can pick up multiple reviewers. Number 3, create a meaningful Git ignore file. After we create a project in Visual Studio or Visual Studio Code, it's not just about your business code. It's also, you can say, dependencies, configuration, libraries, also probably other artifacts. We don't want to push all the local files into GitHub because there will be a lot of files, occupy a lot of spaces. Also, some of the local files, for example, the configuration file, is really tied to your local machine. If we push that into GitHub and somebody go get that local config file, then it doesn't work. Same thing for password, private key. Those should not be in the GitHub because everybody can see it. That means it's a security problem. So that's why we need to have a Git ignore file and we need to have the right information in there. Number 4, commit early and often. I know sometimes we just enjoy writing code, keep doing that, and finish a lot of changes. Thinking about that, you got a power outage, your computer crashed, you lost all your changes. So it's best practice, commit early, commit often. For my team, we ask our developers at least commit twice a day. Of course, you can commit more, but at least commit twice a day. So by doing that, they will not lose anything because power outage or computer crash. Number 5, useful commit messages. You commit something, you need to write down the reason why you do that, give a brief description. This will not just help other people to understand your change, will also help yourself, especially you are working on a big change. There are a lot of things that changed. Number 6, pull the latest developer branch before create a new branch and before push to Geha. So this is one mistake I see a lot of people have. So on my team, when my developers try to make some changes, so they just go into open up the command prompt and start to run a git checkout.b, create a new branch. So after create a new branch, start writing code. After finish code, then push to the GitHub, create PR. At that moment, GitHub very nicely tell him, sorry, your code has conflict with the developer branch. So that's because when they started writing the code, they don't have the latest developer branch as a base. So instead, they need to go back, try to do some merge. So that just wastes their time. Same thing, a lot of developers, when they push to GitHub, they forgot to do this. And end up they need to go back to do all the merge. Stash your work. That's another thing. Because my team, we are not working on one project, we are working on actually 2, 3, not just working on one application, we are working on about 4 applications. So for some developers, they have multiple stories in a sprint. We are following Agile, by the way. So they have multiple stories in a sprint, and they may work on one story at the beginning, but then run into probably a roadblock or need to wait for designer or need to get some clarification from from the product person, then he needs to switch to a different story. So when you switch to a different story, the best practice is stash your work, because if you don't do that, sometimes you can say, even you create a different branch, right? You need to be very careful. Sometimes you're changing one branch, we could be sneaking into another branch. So it's better to stash your work, then you basically go back to the clean state, then create a new branch working on the second story. And you can also, if you want to switch back, stash your work and pop out your previous work, then continue to work on that. The last one, but not the least one, is about a squashing commits. So one of the best practice I mentioned before at the beginning, it's about you need to commit often, commit early, commit often, right? But you can see, end up there are a lot of small commits. Okay, some changes, maybe you change it to one way, but the next day you don't like it, or you realize some issue, you change it back. So back and forth. So when we try to merge your PR, at that moment, if you pay attention to GitHub, there is an option. There is a drop-down. You can click the merge drop-down. There is an option for you to squash commits. Squash means you can merge them together. You still keep all the comments, all the information. But instead of keep every single small changes, they will merge them together. So for the situation I mentioned about you change to one way and change it back, right? We don't want to see it, because if one day I need to go back to look at that particular merge, I want to say what can I change it there, right? I don't want to say something change back and forth. I only want to say end result. So it's best practice to squash your commits all together. Let me summarize. Number one, don't allow push to develop and master. Number two, define co-owner for faster code reviews. Number three, create a meaningful get-ignore file. Number four, commit early and often. Number five, useful commit messages. Number six, quote the latest develop branch before create a new branch. Number seven, stash your work. Number eight, squashing commits. Let me move on to give everybody a demo. So I'm going to create a small application. Nowadays, one of the very often used thing is called password. If you want to log into Microsoft Teams, you need to enter your username and password. You want to log into your Hotmail, you need to enter username and password. You need to log into GitHub, username and password. I mean, there are probably like a two-factor authentication or some other way, right? But the password is still very often used. So I want to create a small console application to generate a random password, because a lot of time people scratch their head to come up with a good and complicated and difficult to figure out, difficult to guess password. So I'm going to create a small application. So it's not a .NET Core. I already upgrade to .NET Core 5, .NET Core 3.1. I upgrade to .NET Core 5.0 last night. Okay, so another thing is I'm going to follow the Git branch model called Git workflow. So I'm going to follow the Git workflow model called Getflow. So Getflow is a way for a small team to do this kind of collaboration easier. Getflow has master branch, developer branch, feature branch. Master branch is for production, is to store production code. Developer branch is a central place to store development code. Feature branch is for each story to store their specific changes. So change in feature branch needs a PR in GitHub, needs a PR pull request, pull request to merge into develop branch. And then after the changes, entire application gets validated, tested. We normally just merge develop branch eventually into master branch. So that will be the production code in master branch. So develop branch and the master branch are locked to avoid developers to directly push changes into them. Feature branch is created by each developer. They can just do whatever they like to do. Of course, if they realize they don't need those changes, they can just delete that specific branch. I have two computers. So the first one, I'm going to log in with my primary account on GitHub. So second one, I'm going to log in with my secondary account. So let me switch to my first computer. So I have, this is my second computer. Let me switch to my first computer. So I have GitHub already logged in GitHub as myself. So I'm going to create a new repo. So I'll call this repo passgen, password generator. Description, password generator, device public. I want to have readme, git ignore. So I'm going to choose Visual Studio. License, MIT. Click create repository. Okay.
Excuse me, are you sharing that screen? I don't see any GitHub screen.
Oh, you don't see Git? You don't see my screen? Let me double check. You don't see my screen at all?
No, I saw the screen with the slides, not with GitHub.
Oh, okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yep, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so just like I said, I just created a project, password generator, passgen. So I'm going to add a branch because I'm following Getflow. So I already have main branch, master branch. So I'm going to add a second branch called develop branch. So I'm going to click on this branch drop down. And I'm going to type it right in here, develop. Then click create branch, develop from main. So right now I have two branches, main, develop. I will change develop become default. So I'm going to view all branches. Oh, sorry, this is not the right place. I'm actually going to settings. Yeah, this is the right place. Then I'm going to my branches. So I will change the branch to, default branch to develop because we are working on develop branch. Oh, sorry, this is rename. Okay, so I understand. I switch to the default to develop. After that, like I said, I don't want my developers to push into develop branch and main branch, master branch. So I'm going to add some rules to protect them. This is the first one for the main branch. Require pull requests, reviews before merging. Of course, you can specify multiple reviewers. For my demo purpose, I only use default. That means one reviewer is good enough. Also, you can require review from co-owner. So after you specify co-owners, because the co-owner normally is a person who knows the code the best. Okay, another option is dismiss style pull request. That means somebody review your PR and mark as approved. But after that, you realize I need to change something else. So you make a change and push into Geha. So at that moment, right, because we have this require pull request review before merging, right? If we don't check this, that means people, they will not realize this new change, they will just go ahead and merge it. So by check this, that means every time this new change will reset all approval. So after that, then we just say great. So this is I need to enter my password. Okay, so let me go. Okay, so right now this is the first one. So also I need to do the same thing for develop branch. Let me go back to here. Add another rule. Require for request reviews before merging. Same kind of rules. So this is for develop branch. So you can say I have two rules, protection rules for main branch and develop branch. So that's why I said about we cannot let developers to push into it. Okay, so after this, I'm going to remote into my second computer. Before I do that, because this is a new project, right? I want to invite somebody into my project. So I'm going to go to manage access. So I'm going to invite my second account into this project. So my second account, Blue River, 1999. Add Blue River. Okay. So this is my second account. So after I add my second account, let me switch to my second computer. So my second account needs to accept this invitation. So go into the Gmail. River. Wrong password. Oh, sorry. I need to go figure out my password. Bear with me, very quick. So what I'm trying to do, I create a new project and I try to invite some people into my project so they can work with me on my project password generator. So right now, after I invite the person into the project, in GitHub, this person needs to accept the invitation. So I'm using my second account to accept the invitation. So let me go find that. River 1999. Okay, so let me try this one. I'm not sharing, just so you know, because I'm checking my some of my password stuff. Okay, so let me bring this over. Can you see my screen? Okay, so let me continue. I log in with my second account, and you can see I got an email. It's an invitation, so I can just view the invitation. Okay, so that means I'm in. My second account is also in this project. After that, let me go back to my first computer, and that means go back to my first account. I'm going to opens up a command prompt because I want to start to do some coding, right? Then go back here. I want to clone this project to my local. Click code. I'm using HTTPS. You have option to use HTTPS or SSH. Copy this URL, and I'm going to mine. I do have a folder called repos on my local. Let me see. Okay, I already have one. Let me, you know what? Let me delete that one because I tried to change. Oh, let me just rename. Backup. Okay, so and go back to here. So I just need to enter git clone. Then this URL. Go ahead. So quick because it's empty. So you can see I clone pass gen to my local. Then what I'm going to do, I want to start to working on this project or this application. I'm going to use .NET Core 5.0 to create a console application. So it's very simple. First of all, let me make sure the version is correct. Okay, so 5.0, 102. And what I need to do is just run, use a CLI, .NET new console. Okay, so it starts to create this project for me. Finished. And this is empty one. I mean, this is scaffolding. That means no business logic at all. So I just want to try to see if it works. .NET view output view output. Okay. Okay. View success. Let me run this one. Output. And I'm going to, let me see where is it. Okay. I think okay, it's passgen.dl. Keep in mind, because this is .NET Core, the reason is DL file because this is a cross-platform. So that means we can copy this file to Mac, to Linux, and use the same way to run it. So it's not an exe. Of course, there is a way to convert that become an exe. That means when become a Windows only. So this works. Hello world. Okay, so let's go do some real coding. But before that, You know what? Let me open this up first in Visual Studio Code. I mentioned another thing. One of the best practices I mentioned is to define code owner for faster code reviews. So that's something I'm going to do. So in order to specify code owner, I need to add a file called code owners. So what I'm going to do is right here, add a new file called code owners. So this is a file. So I just need to let me copy this. I already have this somewhere. Okay, paste into here. Okay, so I specify myself, Henry He, 9999, as the owner of this piece of code. After that, let me commit this to server first. So I have this, like I said, this is the best practice. We need to commit early and commit often. So right after I have the project set up, I have the co-owners file created. I need to make a first commit. So what I'm going to do, let me take a look. I run git status. Okay, so before that, I do need to create a branch because I don't have a branch here. So I'm going to run. Let me see what kind of branch is there. Okay, the about branch, that's correct. So I'm going to check out and create a branch called feature, and I will say initial. That means just all the setup stuff. So I'm in this branch, double check. Yes, I'm here. So I just need to add all the changes into this branch. Okay, double check again. Okay, good. So you can see after I use git add that means I want to add all the changes into the staging. After I add into staging, I need to commit to my local Git server. So then I'm going to run git commit, give a meaningful message. At this moment, I'm going to do initial setup. So just that. Okay, then let's take a look again. Okay, nothing here because I already commit to my local server. Of course, you can look at this in a different way. I always use this GUI tool provided by Git. So it's easier for you to see all the changes. You can say I add a Git, there is a Git ignore, license, README. Okay, so that's things. Also initial setup, co-owners, path gen, program.sys file. Okay, so that's everything. Then I can push all the changes to Geha. Just push. Okay. At this moment, because this is a new branch only on your local, Git will prompt you to let you build up this kind of link or relationship between your local branch and the new branch in GitHub. So you just need to copy this and paste here and run it. Okay, so cancel this. Yeah, I need to enter my username and password. Somehow it cannot remember my username and password. I'm still looking at the problem. So I just need to enter my username and password of my GitHub. Oh, let me try again. Must do something wrong. See, sometimes could be typo, so I need to type very carefully. That is my password. Let me just copy paste. Let me see if I can type it. And let me try from here first. can see my keyboard give me problem. I can enter R. Yeah, so that's a problem, right? So I enter from that prompt window, but it still prompt me for the password. Okay, so password. Hopefully this time my keyboard not giving me problem. Hopefully. Oh, cool. All right. So I push all my changes to GitHub. So let me go back to GitHub to look at that. Okay. So in GitHub, you can see there is a new pull request. So what we need to do, I mean, there is a new branch, and it's asking me, do I want to create a new pull request? Yes, I do. Like I said, this is initial change. We need to push to the GitHub. Also, it's better just merge this into develop. So I'm going to create a new pull request. Okay, so this is initial setup and give a little bit information. So I would say changes initial setup. This is also a best practice. Okay, always give some meaningful explanation about what's happening. Also, you can take a look at what kind of changes there. So I add the co-owners file. This is a project file. This is a program.cs file. So that's all. And I need to specify a reviewer. So for pull request, I said nobody can merge this PR without approval from reviewer. So I need to specify reviewer. So I'm going to use my second account, Blue River. As a reviewer. Right, I can't see it. Let me see which account use. Yeah, it's correct. Somehow I cannot specify that reviewer. Let me go back to check why Blue River cannot be set as a reviewer, because Blue River is already there. Yeah, Blue River. Oh, waiting for the pending invitation. Okay, so it's not. I forgot to accept. That's why I cannot do that. So remember that after you got your email invitation email, you need to click that link, go into GitHub and accept it. So that's why I cannot use him as a reviewer. So let me refresh. So right now, Blue River 999 is my collaborator. So that means can work with me on my project. So let me go back. Okay, so this is still here. This is a two-way to pull request. Normally, there is a message bar banner, message banner. You can click on that. Another way, you can go into branches and just go find your branch. So this is the branch is created, and you click new pull request. So okay, the good thing is all my messages are still there. So I can find, okay, so you can see I can pick Blue River 999 now. Also, it's best practice to specify, to give labels. I will give enhancement for this one. Okay. On my team, we actually customize labels to have some labels for our own purpose, because we found those default labels doesn't exactly fit into our process. So that's why we customize those labels. A lot of things in GitHub can be customized. Everything is ready, reviewer, label, description, title, and I verify those files okay. So I'm going to just click create pull request. So pull request is here. Then I'm going to my second computer. So my second computer, right here, refresh. I can see there is a one pull request. So I will click on this one, and I can see this pull request. So I'm going to look into it. I can see all the changes. Okay, so looks good to me. Nothing fancy, but it's okay. So I'll just click review changes, and I'm going to prove it. I will say looks good to me. It's also a best practice to give a little bit comment after you review somebody's PR, right? If there's an issue, definitely you can mention that. If everything looks good, just put it a small sentence, looks good to me. Submit review. Right here, so I mentioned about a squash. So you can see I can merge pull requests. If I click this, I do have an option to squash and merge, or rebase and merge. So this is the one I mentioned. If there are a lot of small commits, especially there are changes back and forth, we should squash them to remove those back and forth changes. But if for this one, I don't need to do that. So I can just click merge, confirm merge. After that, also best practice to delete branch. You don't want to have so many feature branch hanging there. So after that, let me go back to my first computer. Right here, I will refresh right here. Okay. First of all, you can see the pull request, nothing under here anymore because it's merged, review and merge. You can go to close to see your merged PR. So that's how we start a new project. All right, so I only have a few minutes, so let me go into to try to write some real code very quick. So let's just go back to my command prompt. I'm going to create another branch because I want to write some real code here. So I'll create branch. So my first story, I assume my first story is to generate password by specifying length, right? So it's very common. I want to have a password that contains lowercase letter, uppercase letter, special characters, numbers, right? Also, I need to specify length. I want to have 8 characters, 10 characters. So I will go into do this. Let me just copy this because I'm running out of time. Okay. So I'll create a new branch. Let's take a look to make sure I'm in the new branch. So then go back to Visual Studio Code. I'm going to just update this program.sys file. So right now, the implementation, I'll just copy from here. Paste into Visual Studio Code. Okay, so very quick. So what I'm doing here, you can see I have special characters, numbers, letters, and based on length, default is 8. So you will just generate a random password for you. Okay, so after that, I just need to compile this one. to try it. So I'm going back. I have this command right here. I think. Just try to find it. You know what? Let's just do it. So the name view. Okay. Output. Then run it. So build success. So let's see if I run this one, what's gonna happen. So like I said, default is A. Cool. So you can see this is a password random generate for me, random password generated for me. So I can specify I want to have 10 character. This is not change. Yes, it must be a. Yeah, there is a bug. Yeah, I think that's one thing I want to show you. So I was trying to show you is this version I check in, then my reviewer, then just comment on this code asking me to change. So that was the scenario I tried to present. But I think I'm running out of time. So let me just push this version into Geha. You know what? Before I do that, I realize I may be able to show something else to everybody. It's about this stash. I mentioned about a stash. So stash is if I'm in the middle of doing this, I'm trying to add a business logic, but somebody asking me to make adjustment to the initial setup, right? So I may need to update, ignore other things before I do this. So I need to first of all look at all my changes. I change the program assist, so I can run this command stash. Okay. After that, you can see all changes are gone. So where are my changes? So you can see if I run stash list, this is my change working in progress. And if I want to go back this one, I just run git stash pub. So it's back. So I can run git status again. So my change is back. So this is a way to change back and forth. Co-owner, I already specified myself as a co-owner, but there is no way to really demo to you guys because I'm running out of time. So let me go back to my slide. Okay, so I want to quickly summarize what we did before Q&A. So we talk about some best practices when we are using Git and GitHub. The number one is to protect your develop branch and the master branch. If you have other branch need to protect, you need to also do so. So this is number one. Number two, define co-owner for faster code reviews. Number three, create a meaningful git ignore file. Number four, commit early and often. Number five, provide some useful, meaningful commit messages. Number six, pull the latest develop branch before create a new branch or before push to GitHub. Number seven, when you switch from one story to another story, you can use stash to stash your work. Number eight, squashing commits. That means merge all the temporary changes together. So that's all I want to present to everybody. If you have any questions, you can ask me. I will stay in the room for a few minutes. So you can ask me questions. You can type in the chat. Thank you. Thank you very much.